Hello, everyone, and happy Friday. We're going to get going in the next minute or so. So I'm just going to let everyone join. And thank you so much for spending your Friday afternoon with us here at Simply Hired. We're really excited to have you. I'm going to give everyone just another 30 seconds or so to join, and then we're going to begin. A little bit, before we begin, a little bit about myself. I'm Erin, and I am a product marketer here at Simply Hired. And I'm going to be your host for today's live training. And I'm really excited to speak with all of you about this topic. I know it's something that many of you, whether you're a business owner, you are an HR manager, you're a recruiter, whatever your job may be, you came here today because you want to learn how to improve your job post or just overall write high impact job post. And I think it'll be a really valuable lesson whether you already have job posts live on Simply Hired. You could look at those job posts and figure out ways to edit them and improve them. Or if you're looking to start hiring on Simply Hired and you're going to start writing some job posts, this is a really great, some really great information we'll be sharing with you today. And our goal is really just to help improve you and empower your hiring on Simply Hired. So I'm really excited to speak with all of you today. A little bit about myself. My team primarily focuses on building new features on the Simply Hired platforms, ultimately bringing you quality candidates and more visibility to your job post. I'm excited to be speaking with you directly about how to optimize your job post as you either begin your journey or continue your hiring journey on Simply Hired. And hang on. At the end of this webinar today, we will be having a live Q&A where you'll be able to submit your questions and we'll be answering them live. If we aren't able to get to all of your questions, we will be sending a follow-up where you can see answers to your questions. And then at the end as well, if you have the time, we have a pop-up feedback survey, just couple quick questions. We'd love to hear about what you thought, and we'd love to hear about what you would like to learn in the future during these live trainings. So we're really excited, and let's go ahead and dive in. Today, we will be going through kind of the state of hiring. We want to kind of assess and give you guys some inside tips based on our research on where does hiring stand today, and what are some roadblocks that employers are facing, and what are we doing here to help with those. Then we'll dive into the nitty gritty, and that is optimizing your job post to attract qualified applicants. So we're going to go through each 4 sections of the job post today and give you all of our tips and tricks on what you can do to help move you closer to hiring your next team member. Then we're going to go through some of our formatting tips. Believe it or not, formatting is really an important component of writing your job post. Then we'll also go into some details about messaging. I'll talk a little bit about one of my favorite topics, screener questions, and then we'll leave some time again for questions and answers. But before we dive into the job post itself, I wanted to just take a step back and take a pulse on what's happening in the labor market right now and what you guys on Simply Hired are hiring for. So we're going to take a quick poll. And really talk about too how Simply Hired is using these insights to create a better employer experience for you all. Ultimately, we're starting to see signs of recovery from the pandemic and overall more activity from job seekers compared to this time last year, kind of end of summer last year. But what's interesting is that job seekers are not leading the charge here as much. We're actually seeing higher activity from workers that are already employed and in the workforce, but they're being lured into and considering different employers under the right conditions. And it could be for a number of reasons, right? Like higher wages, transferable skills, professional development or opportunities that are enticing them to take work somewhere else, which tells our team here at Simply Hired that sourcing is going to be an important part of hiring quality candidates for your teams, which you all, I'm sure, are very familiar with on a day-to-day basis. And we want to make sourcing easier for you. Which brings us to our first question here. We'd like to get a sense of how you all are navigating this new hiring environment post-pandemic. Of course, we hope things aren't too stressful, as it was not tough only professionally, but also personally on many levels. So I'd like to just take a pulse here. I'm going to throw up a poll for you all. And asking 2 questions here. The first is, how soon do you need to hire? Are you urgently hiring? And is it something that you're just kind of continuously hiring for? The second question is, how unique are the skills and experiences that you're hiring for? 1 being entry level, kind of standard skills, and 5 being pretty unique, diamond in the rough skill sets. And I'll give you a moment to respond here. Seems like some results are coming in, but in the meantime, let's talk about what we think this means for employers and their hiring strategies. I mean, it's becoming clear that hiring strategies need to change with this market. So getting job seekers to see your job post and click on your job post isn't all there is to it these days to find the right person for the job. What it really comes down to is setting very clear candidate requirements, making specific screener questions, as well as attracting quality candidates with high quality job posts that really shows your tone and what the job has to offer. I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll here. We got some great results. Thank you all. And wow, yeah, from the look of it, it seems like a lot of us are looking to fill our roles quite urgently. And we need a pretty unique set of skill sets around a range of 4. In fact, yeah, 33% of y'all are voting that you're urgently hiring for workers with a pretty unique set to mid-range to unique set of skills and experience. So thank you so much for answering that. That's really going to help us set the tone for today and show you some tips on how to hire quickly and hire specifically with your job post. So let's go ahead and dive in here. As you can see in this slide right here, this is what job seekers actually see on the job seeker side of SimplyHired, so simplyhired.com. And in the current market, we're understanding that it's less of a wait for candidates to find you and more of an approach that if you're looking to fill your open roles right away, it's going to take some proactive outreach to candidates that have the skills and experience you're looking for. Our product decisions are aligned with this shift in the labor market, and we're working on some really exciting new product features to help with this. And I can't wait for future live trainings to showcase some of those for you. But of these active job seekers that are looking at jobs on our platform, we want to make sure that they are the right person by learning more about them up front. So you can do this on SimplyHired in 2 ways. And that's 1, of course, write a job post that covers all the basics and really explains the unique skill sets you're looking for. And 2, doing that through screener questions as well and adding screener questions to your application on SimplyHired. So don't worry, we're going to go through and spend the majority of today talking about those 2 things. I wanted to show you this slide here. On average, we're seeing about 27 applications on average per job on SimplyHired. And what we wanted to answer is, what makes a quality job post? Which job posts are getting higher than average applicants, and which ones are getting less, and what are they doing differently in their actual job post? So, after some research, we kind of summarized it down to some simple tips that can really help you with that application rate. And that's 1, make it customized and personalized. And we're going to show you how to do that today. 2, make it directed at the applicant, right? You want, when an applicant reads a job post, they want to feel like it's being directed to them. So you can do that by using pronouns such as you, and we'll show you an example. The 3rd is making it easy to read. I think that also goes along the lines of using line breaks. That's really important. As we talked about, the current job market, a lot of job seekers are applying to jobs outside of their current job right now, right? They're looking for their next career move. So this usually happens after dinner or when you're maybe on the weekends and they're scanning through job posts later in the day, typically. So it's really important to make it easy to scan, right? I think about when you land on a website or you're reading through an email and there's just a lot of text, it makes it really hard on the eyes and not really easy to digest. So just an easy tip that can really help. Of course, using screener questions, and we're going to show you how to do that and what type of screener questions to ask, and then get specifics on salary range and experience level. And we'll talk about how to do that. But just wanted to kind of show you the differences. As you can see here on the left, they're adding some custom screener questions. They're doing nice line breaks. They're adding salary and minimum experience level. And that really helps with the application rate. So let's talk about first the components of a job post, right? There's quite a few things that go into it. This seems pretty simple, but job title, job requirements, job description, a summary, and listing out responsibilities. So we're going to talk about each of those, but before you start writing your job post, I think it's really important to know the current market for the position and understanding how to align salary, work level, and job title for your market is really key. So what I highly recommend is researching jobs posted in your area with that same job title or even nationwide to stay competitive. Find out what are the compensation and benefits like PTO and healthcare in those job posts. What are they marking as work schedules and flexibility? What's kind of the competitive market for locations and opportunities for growth? It's definitely important to get inspiration from those who are showing up pretty high in the job search funnel. As you can see here, I just went in kind of out of curiosity, searching for a customer service representative in Austin, Texas, and wanted to gauge, what were job posts looking like there that were showing up first. So that's definitely a great tip. I include that in my email follow-up is go on SimplyHired.com, type in the job title you're hiring for and the location, and do a little bit of research on what's there in the market. And as you can see, as you'll see here during my job search, I did find that it's a pretty competitive market, right? When I was searching for customer service rep in Austin, it was over 800 positions, right? So doing your research up front is really important. And I think it's really important too to know how competitive is your role. So let's go to the next slide. So let's step into job requirements, right? That I think is really kind of the first step. In fact, when you go on to SimplyHired and post your job, those are the first step one of the job post funnel. And that's something really important to kind of decide your job requirements up front. With job requirements, really the major point is performance, right? When you set up clear job requirements, the candidates that you're going to get matched with end up being a lot more likely of a fit. So making sure that you spend time getting really accurate with your job requirements is extremely important. So let's talk about them kind of one by one as if you were posting a job on SimplyHired. Some of our tips for setting clear candidate requirements up front, and that starts with job title, right? So when thinking of a job title, think of what a job seeker would search, right? A great job title is one that someone would search for. It should be straightforward and an industry standard form, right? For example, customer service representative. That's a common job title for someone who answers customer questions. And while I've seen some pretty creative ones out there, and they may be tempted to use a more eye-catching job title like customer superstar or something along those lines, job seekers are not searching for that term when they're looking for that type of position. So instead, stick to job titles that job seekers will find. They'll be more likely to reach more quality candidates if you use job titles as such. My other tip for writing a good job title is cast a wide net with job title, and then you could get specific with screener questions later. So back to kind of that customer service representative example, use that as your job title, but then you could get specific in terms of, are you comfortable answering phones? Different things like that to kind of hone in on all the components that go into a job title. Other few tips, and this will be included in my email follow-up. I'm sending you a job post checklist. But some of my other tips are, avoid internal language, just in general. People do not have experience. They often don't know what those acronyms or words stand for. So really think about, if you're a job seeker looking at your company in this job post fresh, would you understand it? Make sure you don't include internal language, and think about, being as inclusive as possible, and consider going over your finished job description and revising any verbiage that may be exclusionary to any groups or people you may be considering for this opportunity. The next component of job requirements is salary. So with salary, that across the United States right now, that is becoming actually implemented into a lot of laws, is salary transparency during the job post process. And that's also included on SimplyHired. And while I know a lot of employers are trying to get used to this, that might not have been a normal part of their recruitment. It actually ends up helping employers overall. In fact, when we did some research, employers that include pay in their job description receive up to 2 times more applicants. So really it is helpful. Something you can do is enter the salary into the job requirements and then talk about specifics later on in the hiring process, maybe either during the interview or maybe within the job description, right? For example, setting up a base salary in the job requirements and then talking about commission or bonuses or other options in the benefits section of the job post. The third component of job requirements is job location, and that's the mile radius that you are hiring for. So be specific. That's kind of my number one thing, is be specific. So candidates, you're not getting candidates that aren't in the right radius applying to your job. So on SimplyHired, we get down to the map, right? So put in an address as specific as possible, and do check that mark if they do require to be within that 100-mile radius. Other things to note, we do have options to check if it is a fully remote position or if it's kind of a flexible position. So definitely get as specific as possible. And we'll talk about this a little bit later, but if relocation is possible, right? So maybe the job starts in Austin, Texas, but there's a relocation possibility in Dallas, include that as a screener question, right? Asking the candidate, are you willing to relocate to Dallas if that is an option? The fourth component of job requirements is experience level, right? So thinking about, do I want someone fresh with kind of fresh perspectives, or would I really prefer someone with a lot of years of experience and may not take as much training? Don't be afraid to use this, right? It's a really important way to help us kind of match you with the right candidates. But the other thing to think about as well is not getting so specific with experience or so stringent on it, right? I've seen some job posts that are like, oh, we need 7 years of experience, but really maybe the job you would prefer somewhere around 3 or 4, because candidates will kind of be intimidated by that question. If they feel like they haven't met that experience level per se, they may be less likely to apply for that job and just skip applying for that job altogether. So definitely be careful when you're identifying your experience level. So those are the main job requirements of the job post. And this is just to summarize, my tips are: offer a realistic set of qualifications, definitely list the salary, list the location, and get very specific with the location. Now let's go into the job description. Now this part's really fun. It's the best way to showcase your messaging, what your brand is about, but it's also a great way to communicate with the candidate what they'll be doing on a day-to-day. So if you can invest your energy into a good job description, I believe, and it will truly pay off. So we're going to go through our top tips for all components of the job description, such as writing a job summary, writing the responsibilities and qualifications, writing benefits, and then we'll go over the overall kind of messaging tips and formatting tips for your job description. So let's dive in. Here's the components that make up a job description, and I've tried to simplify it down into 4 things. So it's summary. This is kind of your elevator pitch for the job, and then the 3 R's, which are requirements, responsibilities, and rewards. Rewards can also be interchangeable with benefits, but a great way to remember when you're writing your next job description: summary, requirements, responsibility, and rewards. Some of the things that you want to include within these different topics, again, are reiterating pay range, being very specific with benefits, shift info, location, whether it's remote or, like we talked about, relocation or hybrid. You really want to get specific on required qualifications and the type of job, full-time or part-time. And that's really done at the beginning of the job post. So when that first 30 seconds of reading a job post, if you can include a lot of that information, it'll be really helpful for the job seeker. Job seekers should understand what an ideal candidate looks like from the job description. In fact, I thought this was an interesting metric. 52% of job seekers say the quality of a job description is either very or extremely influential on their decision to apply. So again, investing in a really good job description that shows off your brand, really summarizes the role, gives a job seeker insight of what their day-to-day will be like, as well as what you're looking for, background, educational experience, skills or traits. Making sure you cover all those bases are really going to pay off. So let's talk about the first component, and that is job summary. So provide a compelling and unique introduction to the advertised role, right? I kind of talked about this as being your elevator pitch. So it also needs to be very scannable. It's very important in the job summary, again, to reiterate how many hours and the location of the job. In fact, 72% again say that it's really important to see details about company culture in the job summary. So you want to ensure it's not generic. I think nothing excites a candidate less. I think back to my job seeking experience, and when you're reading job posts that just sound uninspiring, use your brand voice. Use pronouns such as you, so it's directed to them, and make sure it sounds simple and really empathetic. Don't be afraid to mention how the role you're hiring for too contributes to the greater mission of the company. I think that's a really great pro tip, and really kind of empowers the job seeker to get excited about that position. The next component of the job description are job responsibilities, and that's really outlining the primary functions of the job. And I like to think of this section as talking about what is the day-to-day life, what will that be like for the person who's hired for the job? And this can be anything. This section can include anything from specific tasks to overall employee goals, right? Like how they will contribute to the overarching goals of the company. This is a great formatting tip, is to put the job responsibilities in bullets. Tends to be very scannable. Now let's dive quickly into benefits. Again, I've listed just some of the options and benefits. As we mentioned previously, with the current job market, job seekers are paying closer attention to benefits provided by employers. So it definitely is helpful. And we know benefits can vary tremendously from industry to industry, from company to company, depending on the size of the company and the capabilities of the organization. But, really thinking about all of the benefits that you provide, from different insurance programs, maybe flexibility in hours, retirement packages, paid time off for illness, vacation, listing all of those things in a job description is really valuable. We have a couple more minutes here, so I'm going to talk about messaging briefly, and what messages have broad appeal to job seekers overall. We did a quick study here, and we found that work-life balance, long-term stability, and passionate about work were the 3 top attributes job seekers are looking for in 2022. So just kind of a helpful pro tip as you're writing those job descriptions and knowing what the job seekers are really looking for. I threw in some values that we've seen in our research where job seekers are really looking for in their next long-term role. So I wanted to share all of these with you when you're thinking about messaging for your next job description. And then the final point is job formatting. And again, I'm sending a job post checklist in my email follow-up after this webinar. So you'll see a lot of formatting tips, but just to summarize, keep your title descriptive, remove jargon and internal language, use headings and line breaks, and write like a person, right? Not like a robot. This is a human-to-human experience reading a job description. So write to your next hire when you're writing it. And then the 5th is avoid the obvious. I think with so much competition in the job market, we see a lot of repetitive job descriptions. Again, adding a little bit more of your company's flavor, or a great example is day-to-day job responsibilities, will be really valuable. Another quick tip in terms of the hiring process on SimplyHired that I did want to make sure everyone knows about, and that's decide who will be receiving resumes. I think that's an important part of the hiring process, is getting some support on your end. It shouldn't, the more that you can include some other team members from your hiring team or from within your company, the better. And you can actually do that in the settings once you post a job, you have the option before you actually post it to add team members to your hiring team, and you can give them different permissions. So that's just a really great tip, empowering you all to hire faster, as I know that's something from our survey today. You guys are looking to source candidates very quickly. And then my final tip, and I mentioned this is one of my favorite topics because I've just seen so much value in posting screener questions. And so the answer to this question, should I include screener questions? I guess the obvious answer is yes. You should absolutely use screener questions. In fact, jobs that are posted with screener questions are 40% more likely to result in a hire on SimplyHired. So there's definitely data to back up using screener questions is really valuable in getting you your next hire. SimplyHired does offer some pre-made screener questions here. Based on the job title, we'll recommend some, so you have the option to include that. And then you also have the option to write your own screener questions. So I've actually included in my follow-up a quick video on tactics to use when writing your screener questions. I think it really needs to be a combination of adding some deal breaker questions, right? Questions that if they don't have this quality or trait or experience, it won't work. A great example is like nursing or some truck driving. If they don't have a certain license, things like that, then you probably don't want to continue with an interview. So get those questions answered up front. Also throw in some nice to have qualifications so you can kind of understand what makes this candidate unique and have some information about them before your interview. The great thing about screener questions with our pay per reveal model is that you get to see the answers to screener questions before you pay to reveal that candidate. So the more that you can get from the candidate in your job post, including requirements and screener questions, that's information you'll be able to review for free and then decide if you want to contact them by revealing their contact information. I'm not going to get too into pricing today. If you guys are interested in seeing a little bit more inside of our SimplyHired product and looking at kind of what differentiates us with our pay per reveal pricing model, I highly recommend attending next Wednesday's live product tour with my good friend and colleague, Chris. And he's going to give you a deep dive into SimplyHired as a whole. Thank you all so much for spending 30 minutes today with me on a Friday afternoon. I really appreciate it. And I hope that you all learned something new as you craft and optimize your job post. And again, in my follow-up email, I will have a link where you can review our job post checklist, as well as all of our hiring tips and tricks. And I wanted to offer my email here, Erin@SimplyHired.com. If any of you want some reviews of your job post before, or even if they're already up on SimplyHired, you want some feedback and reviews and edits, I'd be happy to look at them. Feel free to send them to Erin@SimplyHired.com. And I'll also throw in a $15 reveal credit after we work together, optimizing your job post. And we have a few minutes here, so I'd like to go ahead and open up some Q&A. If you click, there should be a Q&A button there where you can go ahead and ask a question.
Hi, Erin. Chris here.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, and hello, everyone. First of all, thank you for the kind words, and hello, everyone, and thanks for jumping on the webinar. I'm Chris. I am part of the onboarding and product discovery team, and thanks for plugging my webinar, Erin. So if anybody's interested in jumping on next week, on Wednesdays, I'll be doing a full tour of the product. But before then, Erin, I do have a couple questions that came in. I know we're going to talk a little bit more about pricing on Wednesdays, but here are a couple that I thought were interesting. How often should I refresh my job posts?
Great question. So we really recommend, if your job is like 30 days old and you haven't received applicants or the applicants you're looking for, we recommend either closing or pausing the job post and duplicating it. Job seekers are more likely to apply to newer positions, but do note that if you do not wait the 30 days and you try to repost it, your account could be disabled due to excessive reposting. So definitely be careful with that 30-day mark. And in my follow-up guide, actually, I send you instructions on how to do this. So if you guys have any questions on how to duplicate a job post after 30 days, definitely check out that link. Great question.
All right. So here's an interesting one, Erin. If it's a remote position, but the employee needs to report to the office at least once a week, how do I post that?
Great question. So that's a very common one, right? In the current hiring market. And there's a couple options here. I highly recommend, stating the geographical location of the office upfront in the job requirements. So if your office, for example, is based in Austin, Texas, you want to attract candidates that are located in the area because they'll have that option to go into that office, right? You don't want to get candidates that can't go to that area if that's kind of a requirement or a hope for the job. And then what you could do is include in the job description and screener questions that this is a hybrid role. So are you willing to work remote and go into the office X days of the week, right? Just to confirm that and make sure they are eligible for that. Great question.
Okay, here's one that came in a couple times, and I know we're running short of time, so I'm gonna make it quick. Can we send automated responses to applicants?
Yes, you can. So that is in the settings component of SimplyHired, and it's also included in the hiring guide. So that's really important, right? Like upfront, timely communication as candidates are applying for your job is really important. So some of the kind of notifications that I really recommend setting and automating is first, if someone applies to your job, let them know that send out a notification, an automated email that says, hey, like, thanks for your application to X company for X job title. Please give us a few days and we will be reviewing your application. Another good one is if you want to interview them, so you click reveal and then you quickly want to interview that candidate, you can actually set up a automated email that goes out after you reveal the candidate to set up that interview. So those are really good ways to keep the communication between yourself and the candidate very quick and automated. Great question. Okay. We'll do one more. And then for those, we have a lot of great questions here. This was great. So for the questions that we didn't get to, again, we'll make sure that we get those out to you all so you can see some of the answers. The next question here from Fernando, does SimplyHired have an option for languages? So that's a really great question, Fernando. And again, a really great way to use screener questions is to confirm whether or not they have language requirements. So if you need them to be bilingual, they can confirm that in a screener question and confirm that they do speak that language. So definitely a great opportunity for screener questions. All right, awesome. So we have some of these questions and we'll get back to each of you with the answers, but thank you so much for your time today. Again, have a great weekend, everyone. And thanks so much for learning how to optimize your job post with our SimplyHired team. Talk to you again soon.